One of the conversations that often happens when I talk to large enterprises is around data for AI, particularly around data cloud and other options of bringing in external data for consumption with AI. And anytime you talk about this, you have to think about the two extremes, right? And let me clarify, I'm strictly talking about federating data. How do you consume data without necessarily replicating it inside Salesforce? So a good example is all sort of data which inherently is non-CRM, more transactional device data, utilization data, information from tracking, from system logs, other kind of things that just don't make sense for you to replicate into Salesforce. So when I think about data like that, I think of two options. And again, thinking more declaratively and less write code for it. So on one end of the spectrum, you have the ability to use OData, which is standard. There are OData adapters. Salesforce makes one, which is called the external Lightning Connect, and it's an OData adapter. What that means is you can basically integrate with any service that adheres to the OData specification. I think the most recent one is version 4. So you can essentially consume that OData service and produce those inside Salesforce as external objects, and then treat them like objects. And they will show up under parent objects through some relationship. You may have a key on your account and you can show related transactions from an external system through an OData service. Very simplistic example. So that's on one end. It's an option. You can use it, relatively straightforward. It doesn't have a usage-based model from a licensing standpoint, as far as I know. Right? So it's a more sort of fixed price SKU you buy and you can do that. Fairly straightforward, easy to implement, less expensive option, and great for simple use cases, which is I've got a top level entity in Salesforce and I'm going to bring in the lower level or related entity information from external systems through SAP, through Oracle, through Microsoft, through Adobe. A lot of these vendors have already enabled services, so you are able to consume them very easily. So that's on one end. It's great, works really well. You can also, display that data on side mobile devices. Like all of Salesforce, most of Salesforce functionality would work with them. They do have some limitations in terms of how much data they can pull in, and you can control what you can and cannot do to that information. The trick with it is the visibility to that data is driven by your access to the top level record. So if I have access to an account, all the related transactions will show up. So you run into some challenges, but fundamentally a good way to show data. The other part of this, the other extreme to this, if you will, is data cloud, right? And data cloud serves two major purposes. Obviously, one is around marketing, segmentation, the sort of build the party or individual and leverage it there. But the other part of it, the whole data harmonization idea, is very interesting. You are effectively creating virtual objects, and then you're using that sort of virtual or data harmonization layer to then connect into other data sources. So if I have data on Snowflake or something, I can use data cloud as an interim layer, bring that information, materialize them as objects, and then utilize them that way. And that is also Salesforce's way of then consuming things like these into AI cloud. And also for, I think, LLMs also, you go in your data cloud. So on that spectrum, when you think about data versus data cloud, and when I think about it as an enterprise architect, there are two components to it. One is, what is the degree of sophistication and advancement I want to buy? OData is not super sophisticated. It's a pretty simple, straightforward thing to do. Great if that is where your need is. But on the other hand, you do run the risk with OData that you may paint yourself into a corner because you did not think of use cases that your business may want 12 to 18 months down the line. And all of a sudden you are a bit handicapped. You're like, this architecture will not scale up. We can't do more advanced, more sophisticated things. We can't really do other interesting harmonization, bring in from multiple sources and create more sophisticated variants. And obviously Salesforce is investing a lot of time and money and effort in this. So this is definitely an area with data cloud where you'll see a lot of advancement as things happen. Again, that's just my speculation, if you will. I don't work for Salesforce. And so that's the other consideration, right? When you think of data cloud, you're thinking of a more longer term horizon, that if I have cases that are going to evolve that require me to spend more time, more effort, probably more money, but then it safeguards me a viable longer term data integration strategy that can help my organization, right? And that can help me consume data from non-Salesforce systems into AI and really get value out of it. And this is really interesting to me because I see the dichotomy of these two choices and what they bring to the table. but also because as a product vendor with GPTfy, we today out of the box support OData. So you can use OData and bring external data and utilize GPTfy and its native masking layer and all of that. Didn't send it to your model, consume it, all of that, right? So you are able to consume Salesforce plus non-Salesforce data using your own AI model using GPTfy. You don't need to buy any third party except your data connector right now. The other part of this is we are now actively building a data cloud integration. So then you can natively use data cloud and all the external data it's going to bring into your org directly through GPTfy and again, send it to your AI models. You have both of those approaches. And what will be interesting to see is how do organizations think about this? And not only those, when you think of these, in addition to your current investment in Snowflake, Databricks, all of these other data infrastructure vendors, how do you make sense of this? How do you buy enough AI, enough data integration, enough licenses so that you are not over purchasing and overspending money, but also you are safeguarding a road to future innovation and being pragmatic about it? Very interesting how this is evolving. I'd be very curious to hear what you think. Thank you so much.